Hello everyone, how you going? Welcome back to some more Heritage Minutes. Now I always love checking these out, and this time we've got some more recommended ones, and so we're starting out with Cheney Wenjack, I think.
Johnny wanted to go back home. It was 1,000 kilometers away. They forced him to go to the Indian residential school. More than 150,000 of us children had to go. They wanted to change us.
Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name.
Hallowed be your name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done.
Kill the Indian and the child. It's been called cultural genocide. I survived residential school. My brother Johnny did not.
Wow.
Cheney Wenjack was one of thousands of children who died due to Canada's residential school system. More than 80,000 survivors and their families still live with its legacy today.
80,000. That is an insane number. Actually, I need to hear it again because I didn't catch it.
Was one of thousands of children who died due to Canada's residential school system.
Alright, so they said thousands, not 80,000. I mean, either way, it's in the thousands, and so that's just insane. But no, 80,000 people survived, but thousands perished just from, I guess, I don't know, from the school system itself, or I don't know why he is in the position he's in next to a railway. Is that because he ran away and got hit by a train, or there's a little bit of a gap in this entire Heritage Minutes in terms of answering that question? But no, wow, that was certainly, certainly not the brightest note to start off on. And of course, all of these Heritage Minutes, even like it says at the end, you know, part of Canada's history, so you have to address it in some ways, but in the same way that, you know, when we have the war ones, it's like, wow, I certainly wasn't expecting this one. But no, that is an insane statistic, and honestly, it wasn't even that long ago. 1966 is only, what, 60 years ago now, and so really, if it said 1866, I would have gone, okay, I guess I can understand how the kind of times would make for something like this to happen, but thinking that only a couple of years after this, it was the 70s, and that really isn't that long ago. So to hear that all of these kids were just being put through a school system that was clearly not working for them, so to say, to the point where he's literally just being kind of grabbed and chucked around, like that's not school anymore. So I guess in saying that, if we come back to the start here, it certainly makes sense that he said something like 1,000 kilometers.
I wanted to go back home. It was 1,000 kilometers away.
Yeah, I mean, I expected it to be the other narrator at the end here, but it wasn't. It was actually the brother, or no, I guess the sister said it. But no, 1,000 kilometers. You're willing to travel 1,000 kilometers to go back home. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter how far home is. If you want to go back home, you want to go back home. And especially to escape a situation like this, you certainly can't blame these kids. But either way, 1,000 kilometers on foot that just takes such a long time. And sadly, what I'm finding most interesting about this is how it's reminding me of the Rappaport fence story, which is a both incredible but disgraceful story. You know, these kids just had to travel a very long distance, or attempted to in his case. And so, oh man, there are so many things that have happened in history that you go, okay, that's a great thing. You know, we check out plenty of Heritage Minutes, that these incredible people, or whatever it may be, that let's say they've made insulin that just saved millions and millions of lives, or made a water pump, or whatever it may be. And then you just actually get the other side of history where you go, oh, like it says at the end here, and like I said, you just have to pay tribute to it, or at least just not forget it, because it's certainly there and you don't want to just ignore it. But anyway, moving on to our next one, we have Vikings. What? What's going on? It's so confusing.
Do you know what I think this is?
Helga and Anastina Ingsta proved that the Vikings were by centuries the first Europeans to visit this continent.
Wow. Well, and this one certainly caught me off guard from the entire kind of video game opening. It was quite strange. The native attack on Viking settlements certainly caught me off guard, so I guess 980 AD. That's very, very early in Newfoundland. And then so you come in here and this poor guy just gets gone. Like, look at him, that poor blacksmith, it sounds like, from him dropping something. And then they just go through a little bit of the history. So they were there for quite a long while. I guess they certainly said at the end here, earlier than any other Europeans. I guess that means earlier than the Dutch or anything like that. Because as I now know from previous videos, the Dutch just had a major influence in terms of well, I guess they own Greenland, for instance, which I never knew. But no, I've never thought about how the Vikings would have been in quite a turbulent area in terms of, they go, hang on a second, who are these people? We just don't really want you here. And so then all of a sudden you get a native attack on Viking settlement. And so I am glad overall that I have watched something previously on this entire thing, because otherwise I would have been quite confused. I would have been going, hang on, what do you mean the Vikings were up there? That doesn't make sense. Just what is going with the entire attack? Why are there different people there? Why is it, like I said, so turbulent? Because there are so many different people just moving in and out. But thankfully, due to that Inuit video that I watched, it answered so many questions that I would otherwise have surrounding this video. And so no, it's just a great little heritage minute. You know, you go, oh yeah, that's right, they were the first ones here, but they said they were discovered by 2 people, which is pretty impressive.
Helga and Anastina Ingsta.
Helga and Anastina Insta? Oh god, I probably butchered that. But then also
proved that the Vikings were by centuries the first Europeans to visit this continent.
That's crazy. By centuries, not by 20 years, 50 years, by centuries. Like they could have been there 300, 400, 500 years ago, or 500 years earlier than the Dutch. I can't remember if that was answered in the entire Inuit video. It probably was, but my memory is failing me right now if there was a real number. But honestly, it just makes sense that the Vikings would have been up there, you know, given the overall worldly perception of the Vikings. They were just travelers, explorers, and all these different things, and they just kind of controlled, in my mind, that entire northern area for such a long time. Or even if they didn't control it, they certainly explored and had little residences everywhere. And so no, I'm not surprised that they managed to or just were up there at all, but I certainly would like to know just how surprising it would have been when they either got attacked or first made contact with other Inuit or First Nations tribes and things like that. Because if I was the Vikings, I might have thought that it was completely uninhabited, you know, oh, we've just discovered this new land, and then all of a sudden you're just getting attacked and you're a blacksmith. And so that would have been quite surprising. Either way, I guess if nothing else, I just have to give it to them for trying something different. Just the video game completely caught me off guard. Look at this. I was like, what is going on here? I didn't know if it was new or old for a second, and then I went, yeah, no, it's definitely old, but it's definitely different. But anyway, moving on to our next one, we have Midwife.
Ma said the baby would be here by nightfall.
Amy, don't worry. We're going as fast as we can. I promised your mother that I'd...
Oh my God. We'll never get there!
We will. Calm down.
Walking.
I can't go on anymore. I'm tired.
You made it all the way to my house on foot to get me. Right. It's only another mile. Now, one more time. Push. Good girl. One more time. Push.
Until well into this century, most of us Canadians were born where we lived, and the only professional hand guiding our arrival in the world was theirs, the midwife.
All right, well, there was certainly some parts in there that I went, okay, that makes sense. I can understand why we're talking about babies and everything. But then at other parts, when she's just like riding through the snow, and then all of a sudden they just get trapped by a fallen down tree. As a look in the background, or even just anywhere they walked, surely there was another way around. But either way, the fact that they then had to just walk a mile through the basically sunset or nighttime just to get there certainly would have been a grueling thing when I guess I was about to say 9 months, but kind of more than 9 months pregnant. But no, I want to hear again, because this narrator said something about everyone was born, or virtually everyone was born, in the last century or in the current century, which would have been 1900 century, in their house.
Until well into this century, most of us Canadians were born where we lived, and the only professional hand guiding our arrival in the world was theirs.
Wow. Well, yeah, I would love to know just what does well into this century mean, because I don't know, or I don't have any comparison to Australia, but I feel as though Australia was not having the same sort of well into this century into the 1900s, as perhaps if it was the 1920s or the 1930s, then I can understand, but anything after that, and I go, really? I would never have guessed that it was still happening in any later than that. And so, yeah, to hear that, I mean, I guess there were a lot of remote people, but then in the grand scheme of things, I can only imagine there's not a lot of remote people, and so how many people, or just when does it all end, in terms of just when do people start to go to hospitals instead of just a random midwifery shack in the middle of the snow in the middle of the night? I mean, in saying that, you certainly have to give it to all the midwives, because they were just dealing with people coming from all over the place in all different situations, people that, I don't know, maybe they had to travel every now and again as well, which would have been an entirely different circumstance. It would have been quite an interesting job in terms of just what you have to deal with on a daily basis, regardless of the actual kind of biological aspect. So I'm sure that everyone that ever had to deal with a midwife and it went well would certainly be glad that they were around. You know, like the narrator said, the only professional hand that guided us into this world, I think, certainly has a decent amount of responsibility in that regard. And so no, just well done to everyone that continues to do it, well done to everyone historically who has done it, and man, that's just an incredible video or heritage minute that I didn't ever expect. You know, generally focus on people or stories in particular, but this one was more so of a concept in some ways, and hey, that was a great thing. It's just a little bit of a change of speed if nothing else. But anyway, moving on to our fourth and final one, we have Bluenose.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will endeavor to describe the feeling on this ship. The American ship is just trailing the Bluenose.
Is it a race?
Angus should never have agreed to this last race. She's too old.
That it?
Thompson, halyard back! Get to it, Matt!
Appears there's some kind of difficulty. Seems to be something loose up there, I believe.
The topsail's foul!
I can't see a man.
Just once more, little girl. And you can rest.
She's holding her lead.
Wow.
Her last race and still undefeated. The Bluenose out of Lunenburg, Nova Scotia was fastest in the world for almost 20 years.
Wait, what? Hang on a second. I need to understand. So they said for 20 years, but also still undefeated?
Her last race and still undefeated.
Oh, okay, so maybe they mean not still beaten by today's standards, but just never defeated within her entire career. And so, no, that's an incredible thing. I mean, well done to the skipper, well done to, what's the name? The captain, that's the word I'm looking for. Because obviously there was a lot of things that went on. The fact that the rigging, where is it? The rigging failed somewhere. So all these guys are just trying to muscle it back down, which you're thinking about the amount of power that is in a sail like that, you know. You try and just control anything, a garbage bag or anything that is in the wind, let alone, I don't know, 100 square meters of sail, trying to pull that thing back down. Good luck to you. And then what are you going to attach it with? The shackle broke. Or at least that's what it looked like from the freeze frame. Yeah, look, it's missing its pin, so I don't know how you'd fix that. But I guess either way, they either didn't need it to win because they were that good, or they somehow managed to fix it up. And I just want to look, yeah, 1938 off the coast of Massachusetts. Now, I don't know what race this is. Is this the America's Cup? And then I just want to see, because some of these almost look like real images, but for 1938, would they have been able to get them? I don't think so. I mean, I'm not even sure if TV was around in 1938. I mean, given the fact that everyone keeps telling me that no heritage minutes are very, very particular, I can only assume that that is going to be the right boat, but maybe they went up in a helicopter in modern times when they were making this entire video, and then from there just kind of put a black and white filter on it or something. Either way, for the entire thing to actually be shot in black and white, that is the first one we've had, you know, as even though we had the Vikings one earlier, which would have been an incredible thing to do to try and make it look like a video game for its time, because it was obviously an older one as well, and then to go back to this one and have it in black and white, I don't really understand why, but good on them for kind of doing different things if nothing else, because to be honest, I feel as though the black and white actually enhances it. It kind of puts you in the time period more, like I said, was it 1938? You go, oh yeah, cool, you've got all the cars, you've even got a horn on this one, which is obviously, I can only imagine a loudspeaker to try and communicate, or even a horn. No, they had a cannon, so I don't even know what that's for, because I don't care how loud that is a decent way offshore, and so I don't think they would actually be able to hear you, but maybe they would, maybe it's louder than I expect. Either way, now I just want to know more about the other boat. They said it somewhere, I think. I don't actually think they ever mentioned it.
Her last race and still undefeated. The Bluenose out of Lunenburg, Nova Scotia was fastest in the world for almost 20 years.
They don't actually say what the other boat is, which is interesting. Is it an American boat? I can only assume it's off the coast of Massachusetts, so I can only assume that it would have been likely that it would have been an American boat, but like I said, I just don't know enough about this race. How many other people were in it? Was there any handicaps like there are in things like Sydney to Hobart that I know of? Because it won obviously for 20 years in a row, but did it start at zero? Was it brand new when it started winning, or was it already 20 years old? Because if it was already 20 years old and then it still continued to win for, I don't know, ages 20 to 40, I mean, I certainly hope that there was a little bit of maintenance going on, but obviously not enough, judging by the fact that this thing just came loose and the whole topsail just went, nah, I'm out of here. But no, at least if nothing else, we have certainly just finished on a high note. You know, we had some ones at the start which I was going, geez, it's good to know, but it's a little bit disheartening, and then at least you just finished with this one, you go, oh cool, we just finished with an awesome boat that just did its job really well. Like I said, just absolute congratulations to everyone on board, because they obviously were an incredible crew to win 20 years running. But no, like I said at the start of the video, I always enjoy these heritage minutes. They just give you little drops of information that you can then explore if you're really interested in. Like I said, with the Inuits, or I guess I'll have to check out Bluenose and see if it's still around or not. But either way, you just have to commend everyone that has made a heritage minute or makes it into a heritage minute, because for a 1 minute segment they condense so much information. And yes, sometimes it's good information and good history, and sometimes it's bad history or negative history, but either way, they're just such a good starting point and such a good launch pad for you to go out there and go, oh, I'm really interested in that, let's just go learn some more. But anyway, in saying that, I reckon I'm going to call it there. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, feel free to do the YouTube algorithmic things down below. Also, if this is the first video of mine that you were watching, then maybe want to check out just any of the other heritage minutes or any other Canadian videos, the international videos I've done, and also make sure to check out all the original heritage minutes in the description down below, because they'll be down there. Or hey, maybe even just want to consider subscribing so that you don't miss another one of these in the future. But all in all, have a good one and see ya.